Rice, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on.
I appreciate the offer.
This show was designed for people like you and mine. So like there's an audience out here, right? Some of my viewers that like to know more about the musicians that they go see. And you're a very popular musician. You play a lot. And people probably, haven't necessarily had a chance to hear you talk because you're up there singing and performing. So now's a chance for the audience to get to know who you are. We could talk a little bit about your upbringing, your musical tastes and interests, some of the wonderful things you've done over the years, right?
Yeah.
So with that, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, music provides you a lot. I mean, there's no doubt it's a great thing to play music, and it opens up a whole nother world to people that, a lot of people dream about doing. At the same time, it's a good thing and a bad thing. You might be sitting with your wife and I'm up there singing, you know what I mean? So it has its goods and bads. But throughout my career, I was 12 when the Beatles came out, and watched them on the Ed Sullivan Show and said, I got to have one of those guitars. So I saved up my money mowing lawns and went down to Sears and Roebuck's and bought the cheapest guitar I could find that would literally make your fingers bleed. Literally, it would. And never took a lesson. I got an old Mel Bay book and just started looking at that, trying to figure it out, take 45s and listen, trying to figure out a chord here and there and everything. But my sister was quite a bit older than me, and so she knew, Mac Doss, who was in the Classic Four, and she knew Dickie, who was in Allman Brothers, and she knew Larry Reinhardt, who was in Iron Butterfly. So she knew all those people and hung around them, so I would like hang out with her and go watch them play and everything. And 13 was in a store, Larry Reinhardt's dad. Do you know who Larry Reinhardt was?
I do not.
Larry Reinhardt was a great musician. He played in probably a band you would know, but I can't think of their name right there. But he ended up playing in Iron Butterfly, and him and Dickie grew up together, and they played a lot together. Mac and him used to play in a band called the Thunderbeats that were very, very popular all over Florida and everything. So Larry Reinhardt's dad had a music store downtown, and so when I was about 13 years old down there trying to buy strings and stuff, ran into these two guys, and we started a band, like 13 years old.
That's kind of young to start a band.
Oh, yeah. We were pretty independent guys, I mean, you didn't come home except when it was time to eat supper back then, though, you know what I mean? You were everywhere. So I remember the first thing we did is we learned Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. So Manatee Elementary School over there had a school fair, so we went over and asked them if we could play. We only knew Satisfaction, so for 3 hours we played Satisfaction.
So it was like a classic lineup, like a drummer, a bass player.
Yeah, a drummer, a bass player, and a guitar player. And eventually there was a guy lived down the street from me, and he was a great singer. He didn't play anything, but he ended up being a great singer because we were just hanging out, So he ended up singing with us and everything, and he was like into the Doors, So, he would wear the capes and all that kind of stuff. And so, we got pretty popular doing that kind of thing.
The classic rock was fantastic back then. I mean, back then it wasn't called classic rock, obviously. But so you were influenced by the Beatles, the Stones, the Doors, those types of bands?
Yeah. That whole British invasion was happening when I first started playing. But we got fortunate, and they had in downtown Bradenton, on this side of the main street, you had a teen club. And on this side of the street, you had a big club. And so we weren't allowed to play over the auditorium. It was called the auditorium. It's where the police station is now. The auditorium is still inside of the police station, the original one. So we would play over here, and we had to quit at like 9:30, let's just say. And we'd all run over there and watch the bigger bands that were over there. And so hanging out all the time there, the promoter was named A.J. Perry. So, I would always try to get him to come over and listen to us and everything. So when we got about 16 or so, I said, okay, I'll send you on some gigs and stuff. So we ended up touring a lot with him. I mean, I played with the Yardbirds when I was 17 through him. Yeah,
wow.
up in St. Petersburg. And so we would, at that time of the day, I mean, this is basically before disco, you know what I mean? So, bands were big. We got paid pretty good.
Were you original back then, or was it they're doing covers?
Well, I wrote. I've always written. But, there was a lot of covers. I mean, people back then, they wanted to hear, Talk, the Music Machine. You probably don't even know what that was, though. But I played with that band. I played with Tommy James and the Shondells. I played with all these people. We ended up opening up for all these people because of playing with this A.J. Perry Productions guy, you know. So you would go play St. Petersburg, and you would play at 7. You'd play 1 hour. They furnished everything. You just brought your guitar or whatever instrument you had. You drive all the way to Fort Myers, and you close the show in Fort Myers. So we lived and breathed the band. I mean, that was it.
That's fantastic. What a great life.
Well, it sounds like a great life. It was fun.
But at that age, it was probably the most exciting thing on the planet.
Absolutely. But before that, even, you know, when I got my guitar at 12 or so, you know, I used to carry that thing to school on the school bus, and, you know, people would make fun of me carrying this guitar. I didn't care.
So I assume that music came very easily to you, like learning to play the guitar, singing.
I laugh about it. I always say, you know, I was a pretty good guitar player till I found out girls like singers. And so then I started singing. I'm a very good rhythm guitar player. I'm not a lead guitar player. I've always had a lead guitar player, you know. And I don't know why. I just never had that desire. You know, you're a bass player. You know, whatever led you to be a bass player, you know, whatever led me to be a rhythm guitar player, singer. I never had that desire to do that screaming thing. You know, it just wasn't me. I loved singers. I always did, you know. B.J. Thomas people say, who's your favorite singer? I always go B.J. Thomas. Now, was he really my favorite singer? I was very fortunate to open up for him, which I felt like that was such a privilege, and talk to him and tell him that, you know, everybody used to ask me, who's your favorite singer? And I would say B.J. Thomas. But they'd say, why would you say that? And I said, the guy was just the greatest singer. And so I always loved singers. But growing up when I did, of course, you know, like I said, those guys were 10 years older than me. And so I used to sneak in and see them, and they were starting the Southern rock thing and all that. And I had a bass player named Joe Dan Petty, and he was a roadie for the Allman Brothers. So then Grinder Switch, I don't know if you ever heard of Grinder Switch.
I have actually.
Oh, yeah? So he ended up leaving me and going to Grinder Switch because they got a deal with Capricorn. And and I didn't blame him, you know, he had a record deal, you know. So I was influenced by all that too, but singers were always my thing, you know.
Well, it sounds like you've collaborated with a lot of really good musicians, right? Because, you know, back then it seems like everybody was playing. Bars and restaurants were hosting live music. There was a lot of opportunities down there, right, back then.
Well, you actually made pretty good money. I mean, I could actually make a living playing. I played at a club 5 nights a week. You play 4 hours, 5 nights a week. And I mean, it was till 2 a.m, you know, or 1 a.m, whatever it was. It wasn't like now that we're older and everything else. And but you could make pretty good money, probably close to what you make now. But then, you know, the music changed when disco and everything else came out and everything. Sure. But you could make a living and you could support a family playing music.
And there was an appetite for it. There was an enthusiastic audience that was at every show. So, you know, there were people that were wanting to hear what you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, music was big because there was clubs everywhere. You know what I mean? The problem now is there's so many musicians and not enough clubs. But back then, you know, you also didn't have the drinking laws like you have now either. So people would drive 50 miles to see you. I mean, they didn't care, you know what I mean? But you can't really do that kind of thing today. And that's great. I mean, it's a good thing that you can't do that today, but that did stop a lot of the traveling and going and seeing people.
Maybe it shrunk the party in a little bit of the size.
Shrunk the party a little bit, you know. But you're right. There's so many great musicians around here, period. I mean, and all in this area. You got to be pretty good to get a job in this area, really. I mean, I think, you know. So
you've been playing nonstop. So you've been playing ever since those days when you were 12 years old, being inspired by the Beatles.
Well, I quit playing when my kids started playing baseball because I was on the road. I mean, we used to play when we got with that A.J. Perry production people and everything. We were doing all these. I mean, we played with some big people, like I said. You know, the Yardbirds.
Sure, it can't get bigger than that.
I mean, how do you? Yeah. You know, the Guess Who. I mean, you name them. We traveled and did all this stuff. So then, when that guy went on his way, we went in and started playing the Holiday Inn circuit on the East Coast. We would play from like Miami a week and go all the way to North Carolina, and you'd be at a different Holiday Inn every week.
Now, this is before you had children.
Yeah. And so then when I had kids, well, not before I had kids, but before my kids were older. So when my kids got, you know, old enough to do ball and everything else, I didn't want to be on the road and everything. So I kind of quit playing for I mean, probably close to 10 years. I mean, I would play, or I'd go play at a restaurant once in a while or something like that. They used to have a restaurant called Fast Eddie's out the beach. I played there, and I played at the Sandbar, you know, off nights and stuff like that. But I wanted to see my kids grow up. I wanted to be there with my children and everything. And so, and I made the right choice because I have 2 great children, grandchildren, and everything else. And I would have missed all that, you know. Of course, that's the time. That's really the time when I was 21, I had, you know, hair down to here and a mustache, and I had really frizzy hair. It was like ringlets almost, you know what I mean? And I was doing some pretty big shows back then, traveling all over South Carolina, North Carolina, and all that. So it might have been the time that was really the best time for me to make it, but I invested in my children, and I know that's the best investment I ever made.
But you probably have some unbelievable memories, some great stories, right? From those days?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, you know, we first of all, you know, everything's a shenanigan. So, you know, some things you can talk about, some things you can't talk about.
Were there a lot of like bus situations where you guys were on a bus, or were you driving your own car?
It's funny, you know, we had the buses on and off. We, you know, always just rented them and everything, but we would a lot of times have big vans and things like that.
Load the gear,
more than buses and everything. And I fly airplanes. So when I was on the road in my 30s, later in my life, or 40, you know, the band would take the bus to the gig. I had a company here, so I would come back, work the company 3 or 4 days a week, and then I'd go play 3 or 4 days a week at these casinos and fly back and forth. So there's lots of stories, but you know, I just never could get away from music. I kept coming back no matter what it was. So you know, it's like I tell people, it's not what I do, it's who I am.
So
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. It's not just a hobby or an interest. It's become a passion where it's like, it's basically in your DNA, man.
Yeah, I think that it's really sad that some people don't have a passion, you know, because that is exactly true. Someone told me one time about playing at this age, you know, they said, you know, is your ego that big? I said, you know, it kind of hurts my feelings you say that, because you must have never really had something that you truly loved. You know, and entertaining is what I truly love.
Sure.
I mean, you know, being the front guy. I love people. I love everybody. I don't think you can fake this stuff. You know, people know
right. You have to be genuine.
Sincere.
Yeah. Sincere.
And you know, I make sure I try to say hi to everyone because I really appreciate them doing
it.
You know?
My impression of seeing you guys play, first of all your musicians are top notch.
Thanks.
You only have the best musicians with you.
Thank you.
And your bass player currently that you're using, I don't know his name, but he's phenomenal.
Thanks. Yeah. I appreciate it.
I'd like to meet him one day because I'm always searching for the best tone.
Yeah.
As a bass player, I'm always looking to see what else other people are doing.
Yeah.
How they're sounding, you know?
Yeah. You know, I was with Al Marney, who you know Al Marney, bass player?
I don't.
He was Chris DeBerg for 22 years, Lady in Red guy, Joe Cocker, so many great musicians, and we played together for years and years and years. And he was a great musician, and he still plays around here, you know. But you know, we just had our run. That's all. So this guy here I have now, Kevin, he was a friend of my guitar players, and so he brought him on a couple of years ago, and he's doing very well. He has a good tone. He has a real good tone.
So Billy, who's the current lineup? The Billy Rice Band.
I have Todd Adams. You know Todd Adams on keyboard.
I do.
Guy's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, the guy doesn't need me.
Sure.
I mean, you know what I mean? He is just a star in his own right. He can sing. He can play anything. He actually started out as a drummer in Louisiana, down in New Orleans area, and down in all of that, and couldn't get a job drumming. Because there were so many great drummers, so he picked up piano. How do you do that? I don't even know how you do that. And then Rich McDonald is my drummer, and he's just solid as a rock. I mean, he's just, you know, he's not a showy guy, but I mean, the meter is there, and he will do the work. And like, it's really hard to get people that will do the work for your own songs. We play a lot of my songs, a lot of original songs, and he will do the work, and he will play that just like it's supposed to be played. And then, like I said, Kevin, you know, Voight, that's the newest member of our group, and he's doing fantastic, you know, and everything. I think that, and you're a bass player and a drummer have to be connected, you know, and so, you know, we try not to be too loud, you know. So on stage, I have him put more of his bass in his monitor than in his amp, so it's not, you know, so out front, you know, and I do that with everybody in the band.
Do you guys use a sound man, or do you do your own sound?
I have a sound guy, yeah.
Because we've learned over the years that it's all about front of the house.
Oh, yeah.
And a low stage volume is going to make a huge difference
Yeah.
when your guy out there engineering
Right.
is doing a mix.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Stage volume should be nice and low. Bass and guitar shouldn't be booming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my guitar player, honestly, very little's coming out of his amp. You know,
And who's that? Who's your guitar guy?
Victor Bout is his name, and he's been with me 4 or 5 years now, and he's done a fantastic job. He's young, you know, he's about 50, so I say that's young, and he brings a lot of energy to the band, and you know, I let him kind of run the band, you know, kind of like as far as like, you know, if we're going to do something, they have the musical knowledge, honestly, that I don't have. I mean, and it's not about reading charts. It's about they're just that freaking good. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm a, you know, strummer singer, you know what I mean? And I give them all the credit in the world for what they do. We all got to have each other.
Well, here's the thing. What can people expect when they come to a Billy Rice show? Like what is, you know, like what kind of like originals mixed with some classic rocks, maybe a little Southern there, a little country, a little rock and roll, some blues. I mean, what's the mix?
We probably don't play a lot of blues. We play some Keith Urban over all the way to Steely Dan.
Steely Dan, nice.
Yeah, Todd sings the Steely Dan stuff, like, you know, Reeling in the Years and all that stuff.
People love that.
Great stuff, yeah. And the main thing is I think you always have to remember that you're in the entertainment business. I mean, you really are. And a lot of people, if you consider this just a job, I don't think you're going to last, because it's not your average job. I mean, it is a job, but, you know, it's not your average job. And so you have to really be sincere about what you do and want to do it.
Do you enjoy watching people dance and getting off on the music?
Oh yeah, of course. And you know, I've played a lot of my originals so much that a lot of people know the words to my songs. So when you see somebody singing the words to your songs, you really like that.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Are CDs available at your shows? Do you have merch where people can buy this original
Well,
music?
you know what? I mean, I have CDs and I've sold a lot of CDs, but you know, people don't buy CDs anymore. Would they buy yours? Yeah, they'd buy yours here. But when I traveled, I had merch and hats and shirts and CDs and all that all the time. But you know, I live in this little town. Everybody's my neighbor that comes to see me. So, you know,
they already have the CD.
Well, they have it, or they know the song, or, you know, now, I mean, I'm on all the Spotify and the YouTubes, and
we're in a digital world now.
Yeah, I mean, all that. You know, you can go to internet station, look up Billy Rice, and put a song in, and you'll hear it.
Yeah, I had Twinkle and Rock Soul Radio on the show, and we talked about some of her original stuff and how it's readily available on iTunes and Spotify and all that great stuff.
Yeah, it's available. I tell you what's really bad is people come to my shows and they'll bring me CDs that they bought on Amazon. It isn't even the original one. It's they have taken it and cloned it. It doesn't have your picture on it. It doesn't list the songs, nothing, and it's a terrible copy of it.
That's horrible.
When they do that, they want me to sign it. I take them and I give them the good one, and I keep the one they had. You know,
horrible.
But isn't that something? They do that.
Trying to make a buck off you. The Chinese.
Yeah. Well, you know, streaming doesn't even pay the writer anymore. You know, streaming doesn't even pay the writer. They pay the performer, but very, very, very little. But they don't even pay the writer.
So you must have a lot of original songs. How many do you like?
Songs.
Is there a dozen that you like to take out with you on the road? Or
probably, you know, I could do, if I played by myself. I've done 2 hours of my music, of nothing but my music before by myself, because as you well know, in a band you have to rehearse, and like a guy told me one time, he hired us for a gig, and the guy loved me. He did. He said, you know, Billy, I love you, but you know, the people in this park, they want to hear Brown Eyed Girl. They don't want to hear Billy Rice. And I go, well, you're going to hear some Billy Rice, or, you know, we're not going to come. So and I don't mean that disrespectfully, you know, but I mean, I want to mix my stuff in there too, you know, and I think a lot of my songs are very good. Some of them, I'm not saying they're Brown Eyed Girl, but they're pretty good, you know. And I got a couple songs that are really, really fantastic songs. I mean, the production on them is really good and everything. And I just want to play some of my original stuff, and it really makes you feel good when somebody knows. Of course,
you're proud of it. You worked hard for it, right?
Yeah,
your passions come through.
Very emotional. I mean, I only write something I feel. You know, I can't just sit down there and just make stupid crap up. I mean, I got to kind of like feel it, you know.
So you and I play some of the same venues and some of the same festivals.
Yeah, we do.
For example, we both do the Paragon Seafood Festival, Bill Kenny. And so when you're doing a 90-minute set there, you're doing a percentage of originals. You're doing some covers, right? Are you doing a nice mix there?
We're probably doing every fourth song will be one of my songs.
Okay.
Every third.
And do you usually announce that this is an original, or do you play it and then say that was an original song, or do you not even say anything?
No, I do say. Because a lot of them, you know, I say it if you can hear it on the internet, you know. I don't normally say it if they don't know what it is, you know, but if they can go listen to it again, then I will.
So you might set it up and say, here's one of my original songs.
Yeah.
This way people might say, wow, that was so good.
Spotify,
they're going to go home and search for it.
Right,
and download
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah, Bill's a great guy. He does a great job at those festivals.
Does a great job.
You know, I mean, you got to really give him credit for that.
We love playing the festivals.
Yeah.
We love it because the sound is fantastic. Yeah. You know, Ray, the sound
she does
person,
a great
she's
job.
Great.
Yeah.
And the crowd, I mean, we just did one in Punta Gorda recently. And what's great about it is the crowd is really enthusiastic. Like they go there to see bands and they're supportive and they're dancing and they're singing. And sometimes they'll come up and give you some tip money. You know,
yeah.
And then the minute you come off stage, they want to buy you a drink. Everybody wants to get a picture. I mean, it's so much fun.
Yeah, we just played Fort Myers, and this week we're playing Inglewood with him. We didn't do the Punta Gorda show.
I'm going to come see you actually in Inglewood.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah. I plan on coming down to see you.
I don't even know what time I play, but
I think you're on. Are you on Sunday?
I thought I was Saturday, but I don't know.
I have to look it up because he does like 4 on Friday, like 6 on Saturday, and like 4 on Sunday. Yeah. So it's a good representative. He's good about bringing in, like, he'll have a country, he'll have a rock, he'll do a blues, he'll have a blues guy, like he'll do like a Sean Chambers or some of those guys, you know, that are friends of mine.
Yeah. Well,
something for everybody.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When I first started playing for him, you know, I was looking at the lineup and I'd go, you know, what's he doing? You got this guy, but the diversity of it is the fact it's not all blues. It's not a blues festival. It's not a rock festival. I mean, there's something there for everybody, which brings more people in.
Well, great example. One of my friends is David Lay, 22N, great band. Right. And they'll play pop, country. Their set list is so diverse. Right. And they have people dancing the entire set.
Yeah, well, you know, that's what he's modeled that band after. You know, it's a party band. Right. You know, and that's what he's modeled it after, as a party band. No doubt. I love doing the love songs and all that kind of stuff too. I'm a balladeer. You know, I love that. I'm like a lovesick guy. You know, I write a lot of songs about love. You know,
very cool.
And I make a joke. Hey, this woman broke my heart, so I wrote this song. It's just a joke, you know. But I do love that section of the playing. You know, so.
Well, I think it's got to be great. I never wrote a song before, but it's about to be great when you do write a song and you perform it live and people, like you said earlier, know the words and they sing along to it. That's got to be an incredible feeling.
It is. And, you know, the thing about it is I always laugh, you know, when I got people that used to come see me when I was in my 20s and, like, you know, you have these 30-year-old women, that same 30-year-old woman still comes and sees me, you know what I mean? And I appreciate it more than anything in the world because you've made this fan base over the years and I don't ever consider anybody fans. I always consider them friends because we made this establishment.
They start off as fans, strangers, and then they become friends.
Yeah.
Great, jacked up. We have a few people that are like family to us now. And they just, 5 years ago when we first started, they came to see us, they dug it, so they kept coming. And then we got to know them as people, right?
Right. Yeah, and you know the sad thing is you can only give them so much time because there's a lot of people. But at the same time, you know, if you're sincere about it, they understand too. You know, like my truly friends, I want them. I hope they understand. Like if I don't get to them through the night because I'm telling somebody else that came hi, you know, because I really go out and I appreciate the people coming so much. I just want to say thank you.
Well, do you try to make yourself accessible before or after the show? Like, do you maybe stick around a little bit just to try to see some people?
Yeah, but but the minute I get off, if we only like 88 Live where we're play every Thursday, you know, we only take one break. You know, 3-hour session. But when I get off that stage, I try to go say hi to as many people as I possibly can, and I will hang around. And talk to anybody that wants to talk to me for sure, you know, because they took their time to come see you. Sure. They can go see anybody they want to. Right. They don't have to come see you. They chose to, and you better appreciate that.
And it's kind of cool that you have like a residency there. Like you used to do the Madisons, I think, on Thursday years ago, right?
Well,
and then you're now in 88. And what's great about that is that, you know, you have a large enough fan base that you're going to have a full crowd every week. It's not like someone's going to, like jacked up. We don't have that luxury where somebody may come see us and like they're good for a while, you know, they don't need to come see us the next week, you know, but with you, it's like you have such a loyal following that they're going to keep coming.
Well, I like to have a steady place because if you're going to have a band and you know this, you have to play a certain amount. You got to stay tight. You got to do everything. And so having a steady gig keeps the band tight, and then you do your other things. Like, we do the festivals, I do country clubs, I travel. I did a writer's thing last year with Jonathan Cain from Journey up in Nashville, went up and did that thing with him, and that was nice and all that. But you gotta like play enough. So a steady gig like that, although it is pressure too, because, every week you kind of put it on yourself. Man, are they coming this week? They're not coming this week. They're coming this week. If the place isn't full, you take it personal. But it's like I told Victor, my guitar player, one time, not there, but another place. He goes, man, there's not that many people. I said, Victor, I learned a long time ago, look at that full seat. Don't look at that empty one. That person came to see you. You make sure that that you appreciate them.
And then play your ass off, right? Now
play your ass off. That's right. That's right. You give it all you got. It's a guy I always laugh. I mean, a guy can take a pair of blue jeans and put on a nice shirt and he's dressed. Women, they have to dress. I know you have a girl singer. So, that's a different thing. But with men, all a man's got to do is wear a pair of nice shoes and a nice shirt. He's good, and you just look good on stage, but everything. And, David, I think David from 22N, I think he put all those lights in over there at 88 for them over there. And so,
yeah, he's done that at other places too.
Yeah.
He's got a production company and he's good with that stuff. When I first saw 22N, I was surprised. Like they had the screens and they had all the LCD and LED and all that great stuff where, it blew us away. And when I put my band together, we didn't have the budget. So we're like, well, how can we compete, And it's not really, compete's really not a good word because we're all friends. We're not competing. We may compete for stage time, because there's only so many Saturday nights, right?
Right.
But we benchmark, we're trying to get to that level. Like I look at 22N and I say, we want to try to be like them, which is fine. I mean, that's all respect, right?
Absolutely. If you want to emulate somebody else, that's good. I mean, that's their thing and they do a great job at it. It's like James Taylor's different than Iron Butterfly, you know what I mean? It's like there's two different kind of things. 22N, they want this, image of what they are. They're the ultimate party band. I think that's how they bill themselves, ultimate party band. I don't bill myself as that. Like I said, I like the love songs and all the kind of things that are emotional, kind of like. Is it
safe to say you want to inspire people and you want to be passionate with your music? As opposed to worrying about if they're going to dance or not?
Well, I love that they dance, but yes, I mean you pretty much hit it on the nose. I mean, I like doing singles. Like I was doing a single on Tuesday nights down at Madison's downtown Braden, just me and I had my drummer, just me and my drummer, and I played a lot of my originals and everything because I like that listening crowd too. I like that they're not dancing and that somebody is actually listening to what you're doing. I like that also. Where, once again, I mean, Twinkle hits it out of the park every time. She's a party animal too. And they're the party animal. And most bands feel that way, and we do too. I mean, we want everybody dancing everything. We played Saturday night, the very first song. I looked around at the crowd, and I knew what they would want. And so I got them on the dance floor right away, and they stayed there all night, and I love that too. But I also like that passion thing about being intense about what that song is. I guess that comes from being a writer, that I appreciate the that aspect of someone actually listening. Like a guy I know plays in a band. He never really listened to words till he started playing in the band. He just, hear the beat and everything else, but he never really listened to words. And I'd say, well, you know what that says? He goes, I never even thought about that. Where me as a writer, I connect to what that guy's saying, because, if you don't write the song, you can't play the song.
You're on a much deeper level. You know what I'm saying? I think the average viewer, the average listener, the average concert goer might not be perhaps that into it. But then you find that person that may say to you, hey, I went through a divorce and that song so-and-so got me through a tough time.
I hear that a lot. Believe me, I do. I've got songs that, people want for their weddings. I have songs people want for their funerals, that I wrote and stuff, so it's the song and the passion of the words and everything mean a lot to me.
Are you still writing quality stuff? I mean, are you still in that mindset where you got great stuff coming out of you? Because I think Bob Dylan recently was interviewed and he said that he doesn't have the magic anymore. and he knows that he can never replace that or repeat that. So he still writes, but it's not that's. But you still have that passion for really writing good stuff?
Well, I think I heard a thing about Bob Dylan once, and Bob Dylan said that, I can't even explain to you what happened when I wrote all those songs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw that. It was like he was in another,
the universe opened up
dimension. Yeah. And then Bruce Springsteen, one time I saw him on an interview and they asked him about writing. He said, people don't understand. I won't write a song for 5 years. And all of a sudden I'll write 10, because it just hits me. And I think that's what it is with me. It's like I get in a position where it just hits me, and I'll sit down and I'll write 3 or 4 or 5 songs. And then I call them band ready songs. Some of them are good enough to put, music to and arrangements and everything. And some of them aren't, but you still write them. Like last year, my son and I, every year my son in California, he's a bird keeper at the San Diego Zoo. And we stay in touch by doing music things together, because he's a Grateful Dead guy. I'm whatever was a Grateful Dead, but I can never say nothing bad about the Grateful Dead because he would kill me.
No, the Grateful Dead has a huge loyal following.
Yeah. But I'm not a jam guy. 45-minute jam songs,
Right.
That's not me. And that's a Grateful Dead. But he and I go to this 0 Mile Festival down in Key West every year, and that's something we do together. It's on his birthday. It just happened. And so he came down, and because he plays a little too, he said, Dad, every time we'll get an idea for a song. And so we make that our thing to try to write a song together while we're here, And so this past year, because of him living in California, he's on those highways, and they're packed with cars and everything else, So this ladder falls off of this guy's truck right in front of him, So we wrote a song called Stray Ladder in the Middle of the Road, just jokingly talking about this ladder falling off the truck. And he goes, I want you to explain to me today why you don't need your ladder today, kind of like thing, however we said it. I don't know at that time, but we turned it into a whole song, And then I have a probably one of the best songs I ever wrote. I got a boat, and I used to fish a whole lot. And we were 100 and some miles offshore one time, and we were sinking. We didn't know what was wrong. And what it ended up is the bait well had clogged up and it washed all the scales off of the fish, and so it plugged all the holes, and so nothing was going out. So it'd been piling into the engine room the whole night. So I was telling him about it, and so he wrote it down on one of those beer tabs, you set your drink on, And he said, Dad, one year he said, let's, I saved the idea you had on that beer tab, and he pulled it out. And so it's called Taking on Water. It's a great song. Fantastic. One of the best arrangements I ever made. It doesn't have a chorus. This was really amazing. It doesn't have a chorus. So he said, Dad, let's write a song about the boat sinking. I said, no, let's write a love song. A relationship's in trouble. So I related the boat sinking to the fact that she's on the front of the sailboat, he's on the back, and he's wanting to keep this relationship alive, and they're taking on water. The relationship's sinking.
Nice
so
analogy.
Yeah, so it is. So we're taking on water. We got to start bailing now. Can't hold our breath forever. We're both going to drown, And so those kind of things inspire you so much. For me, that like I love that when I can get that.
Are you writing the lyrics and then you find the music, or do you find the music and then write the lyrics?
Sometimes both ways, but most of the time I'll fiddle around with the guitar and have a lick, and I'll get on this lick, and then from the lick I come up with something, from there. Like Taking on Water, I started out with this guitar riff I had, and so we pulled it out. And when I went and recorded the song up in Nashville, I told my producer, I said, look, I know exactly how I want this guitar to sound. I know exactly what I want. He goes, don't say nothing. He said, I don't want you to say, because if you say something, you're going to put them in a box, and I don't want them in a box. Guy played the riff exactly like I wrote it in my head, because he could feel the same thing I felt. And
Very cool.
That was just so exhilarating to me, being a writer, that somebody else got it. You know what I mean? And so
is that a common thing? If you go to Nashville, that you'll meet people for the very first time, they're studio guys, perhaps maybe, that are part of that studio, and you'll bring your song and then they'll help you interpret it. Is that how that works?
Well, for me, there was a guy around here, Kim Tribble. He was a local guy for years and years and years. And I never knew him when he played here. I never knew him. I met him in Nashville when I went to Nashville. But he kind of like, and I'm talking about many years ago, because he went to Nashville. He was Songwriter of the Year in 1995 up there for ASCAP. And so he is the producer. And so I met him up there, and we started working together, writing together and everything else, and collaborating. So all those guys, you know, they know all the best studio guys, you know, and everything. So we put it together, and you get a lay session guy, and you sit down with him and you work with him. And then he tells the rest of the band basically how to do it, but it's all live. I mean, you all come up with something. Everybody, you don't want to put anybody in a box, you know, and if you don't like it, you just say you don't like it, and we come up with something different, you know. I wrote for Balmer Music for a while through Kim, and that was owned by Anne Murray, partly. She was an investor, and
the actress
Anne Murray, the old singer. Anyway, she was a great singer in the day, but I never met her, but she owned part of the company and everything. And so through all that, we wrote a lot of stuff together and everything, but so he knew all the people to call and everything, you know. And so,
did you enjoy your time in Nashville?
Well, I did, because I wasn't trying to perform in Nashville. You know, I didn't go play in that. I played the Opry Hotel and things like that. But I didn't play that like, I went out and did casino circuits and things like that, and then had an apartment in Nashville, still had a house here too. But the talent's just so immense, and everybody's all about music. So it's like, you know, I mean, I knew a lot of guys that were on the road playing and everything else with different bands and everything else. We used to have this place. It was a Hall of Fame. It was at a hotel, and it was a bar there, and all the musicians came there and everything. And then they would all get picked up in the buses out front and everything, you know. So all the buses from all these bands would be sitting there waiting, and then the wives would come and drop the musicians off, and away they'd go. But while you were doing that, you know, you had this bar there, and I played with a lot of famous people there at that bar.
Can you name some of those people for the listeners?
Well, for country, I played with Mark Chestnut, Toby Keith. I opened up for Keith Urban a couple of years ago through some connections through all that. And Alabama, Jeff Cook had a band called The Chosen Few on the side that I ended up taking the singer's place in, and traveled around with all them. You know, I just did an acoustic thing last year, opening up for Foreigner. I mean, I played with a lot of people. You know, and used to play with Marshall Tucker a lot, the Outlaws a lot.
So when you said you would play with these guys,
you'd be an opening
act.
Yeah, I didn't play with them. I was always Billy Rice. I mean, I wasn't a member of their band.
But was there a chance to hang out with them backstage and get to know them?
Oh, absolutely. I hung out with Eric Clapton when he was in the Yardbirds. I mean, you know, we hung out the same thing. I mean, you know, the Guess Who were really nice. B.J. Thomas was really nice. I mean, it's... you know, everybody really, I mean, they're just people.
Well, here's a question though, because you've met a lot of famous people. If I met Eric Clapton, I might have a heart attack.
Yeah.
But you're probably used to meeting famous people. So you're chill. Like, you're not like, oh my God, can I have a picture with you, an autograph with you, right? So, you know, so was it great to see Clapton, knowing that, you know, I mean, well, back then he was fantastic. Maybe he wasn't Clapton as God at that point yet, but nonetheless, you were hanging out with legends. So yeah, how did you feel? Like, how did that make you feel? Like,
I didn't really think about it that way, because I was 17 and I felt I was just waiting my turn. I didn't know Eric Clapton was. The Yardbirds came over from Europe or wherever they're from, kind of wherever it was, and they're doing the show and I'm doing the show. I really never.
So he was just another musician at that point.
I didn't look at it that way.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I knew that he was famous. I mean, they were famous. I knew that, but more than anything, I really had the confidence that it was just my turn was coming, and so
they were peers to you at that point.
Yeah. Rick Derringer is one of the best guitar players you ever find in your life. I did a lot of shows with Rick Derringer. I mean, he lives here, you know, the guy is, I mean, he blow 90% of all guitar players away, you know, and had the, you know, did a record for a charity one time with him and played a lot of shows with him and all that. I mean, that guy is like way up here, you know, as far as a musician. So a lot of people, and he lives right here. There's so many musicians who live here. You know, so many great music. Marty Ballins. You know Marty Ballins?
I do not.
He was in Jefferson Airplane. He started,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and then he had hits of his own too. Played with him a lot. He was a St. Pete guy. Played with him a lot. He was. I wish I could think of a song he did because you would know the song. I mean, you know, he had a lot of hits.
There was a moment I thought I'd forget you. Evidently I was wrong. Living in the past will haunt me forever if I believe you're really gone. I've been stuck on this page where there ain't no shade as the sun melts into that big red bay. Nothing to drink but whiskey.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Allmans and Dickie, because a lot of my viewers love to hear stories about the Allman Brothers and Dickie. So, I mean, I'm sure there were points where you jammed with those guys and had a chance to get to know them intimately.
Well, you know, the thing is that, you know, he's 10, 11 years older than me. And so, you know, I'm 12 and he's 22. You know, how old was he when they went away in the Allman Brothers? You know, I mean, they were pretty young, weren't they, at that time? So,
But then when he came back, though, like I'm talking about later in his life. I mean,
no, I played with him, and I went out to his house when when Greg was with Cher and all that, and Cher and Greg were there and everything, and Dickie.
Because wasn't Greg living in Bradenton at that point or something?
Greg was living on the island on Holmes Beach.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to go to work in the mornings, and Greg would be at the same place. I'd stop and get coffee, and he's drinking beer. You know, now I'm not saying he was drinking early. He might have just got home. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean it that way.
He
you
can
know,
do what he wants, man.
yeah, but you know, we'd talk and everything, and then you know, Dickie borrowed a couple of my guitars a couple times when his were gone or whatever on the road when he was doing something locally or whatever. And so, but I never wasn't, you know, into that like a lot of these guys are. Because I was out doing my own thing. Sure. I mean, a lot of these guys are just like, and rightfully so, they're legends. There's no doubt about it. But I wasn't really into that big Southern rock scene like they were and everything, you know. But I mean, the guy is fantastic. And Danny Toller.
Dangerous Dan.
Yeah, well, he did a lot of my demos going to Nashville. He is great. And another funny story is he loved my writing and he loved my singing. So we would go and we'd do these stuff and everything. And one day he told me, he said, I was trying to do something. He said, Billy, can I tell you something? I said, sure, Danny. Because he's funny. The guy was funny as hell. He goes, you know, I love that song. He loved this song I had, Time Heals All. He loved that song. And he said, I love that song. You know I do. And I love the way you wrote it. I love the way you sing it, everything. But I'll play the guitar. In other words, he was so much better than me. He wanted to play the guitar on it, not me. It was just funny. And I laughed and laughed because he was right. I mean, you know, he was so great, so smooth and everything else. And he was right there with Dickie. I mean, you know, they played together. They all played together.
All fabulous guitar players.
Yeah, all fantastic guitar players. So, you know, it just made me laugh because he put me in my place, kind of, but I created the song and he loved the song, you know. Good. So, you know, usually the guy writes the song and the singer is the worst musician, really. You know, it's like in my band, these guys I personally feel like they blow me away as far as being a musician, but I'm the front guy, I'm the entertainer, I'm the singer. I think we all have a job.
I think you want to surround yourself with really good talent.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that goes beyond music. That could be business. That could be sports. You know, I've always had, you know, people much smarter than me in the room. You know, I was always good at seeking out people that were smarter and better than me and then having them with me. So it made me better.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So in your case, I mean, but then again, you're interpreting the songs. So these are your songs. So you're the main point there. And these guys are smart to be your band. You know what I'm saying? Like Keith Richards one time said how much he hated Mick and they fought all the time. But yet when it came time for showtime, his job was to make Mick look good.
Right. Well, the best thing about my band is I don't ever have to worry. I mean, I'm out front. You've seen us play. I'm out front. I'm paying attention to the crowd. You know, I'm singing to these girls. I'm doing whatever it is. You know, I don't have to worry about those guys. And having the confidence of that.
Sure.
You know, you don't have to turn around and say, hey, what are you doing?
Right.
Anything like that.
Right.
It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, not everybody has that.
You guys are tight. And you guys, you know,
I have
you're not turning around and giving the old hand signals to the drummer like he
Right.
knows where he needs to be.
Right, exactly. You know, I mean, you know, sometimes if people are dancing and everything, you'll play another chorus or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? But the song's a song, and you play.
Do you
the
go
song.
off the set list? Like you have a set list, I'm assuming, right? Do you call audibles on stage?
I hate set lists, but I have to have set lists because they work. But I don't always do them the way that they are. You know, I mean, I might write down ideas of how we're going to do something, but I don't always do it that.
Are you starting most of the songs then?
No, I'll just tell them, let's do this.
Okay.
I mean, you know, but, you know, I'll go over to look at Victor and he'll tell the band what we're doing.
All right.
Because, you know, it's got to be like a director, but I watch people, you know, and I really do watch people, you know.
So you got some good shows coming up. You mentioned recently that you're going to be doing the Paragon Seafood Festival. You know what's interesting? I saw on your Facebook page, and you had mentioned that you're a pilot. I saw that you had flown to Fort Myers and did your gig.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Well, you know, I love flying. You got to have a reason to fly, you know. And so, I don't know, we'd played the night before or something, and the weather was really nice. And I know what it was. My wife and I went to Palm Beach. We flew to Palm Beach to look at a boat. I have a really nice boat, but I love boats. And so if you're going to fly, you need a reason to fly. I don't want to go up and just turn around holes in the sky. So we started flying to different marinas, looking at boats, and we'll go in the shops, have lunch, whatever, make a day out of it and have fun, you know. So I was just telling Victor, like, let's say it was Thursday night. And I said, hey, you want to fly to the gig on Saturday? Are you serious? Of course. Well, there's not enough room for the gear in the whole band, you know. So he said, well, my stuff will fit in your plane. I said, yeah, it'll fit. So he put 2 or 3 guitars in there. I put a couple guitars, and he put all those pedal boards and all that kind of stuff. And he's really good at video and stuff, you know. So he filmed us going down there and filmed us coming back.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, it was pretty neat, you know. But yeah, I've flown everywhere. I mean, I like flying. I started flying in 1984. So I've been a pilot ever since then. I went all the way up to from flying a little airplane, you know, a little 2-seater, all the way up to having a 10-seater twin-engine pressurized airplane, and now I've got a single engine. But it's nice. But you know, flying is something it's a passion you have too. You know, I'm not in love with flying, but flying allows me to do things I couldn't do any other way. You know. So
you love to fly, you love to sail, right? Boating.
Well, I'm a power boater. I'm not a sailboater.
Okay.
But
you do some fishing as well off that boat?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we used to do all the tournaments and everything else. I just got back from Costa Rica last week. We were down there fishing in Los Sueños, and caught the boat, and we caught 18 sailfish, 2 marlin, and 2 tuna, and 2 wahoo.
Those are some big fish.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I fish a lot, and I take my boat down every year. I didn't take it last year to the Bahamas, but I normally take it to the Bahamas every year, and then I'll leave it in Key West for a while and go down there. It gives you a reason to get away, and you know, that's why I don't like playing all the time, you know, because then you have some time that you can do other things.
Yeah, no, you have a lot of fun hobbies, man.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. And you said you had kids and grandkids.
I have kids and grandkids. Yeah. I do. Yeah. Well, I had a kid at 18. And so, you know, they grow up quick.
Sure.
You know, and then they have kids. Next thing you turn around, you know.
Does your family have chances to come see you perform?
It's another funny story. I was doing a big festival in Sarasota on the street. It wasn't through Bill. It was, I forget what it was. It was a big festival years ago. I mean, I consider myself a dance band too, but you know, I like the fact of like playing things that mean something to me. You know, I don't always just do songs because they're good dance songs, you know what I mean? But you got to keep the people moving. Back, I didn't mean to go that. So my son, he brings my 2 little grandkids down to this show I'm doing, and there's, you know how crowded it gets down there. Sometimes there's 500,000 people on the street, you know, and it's packed, you know. Yeah. So we got done, and, you know, I think that was the first time they ever saw me play, you know. And so my little granddaughter, she says, Papa, can I tell you something? I said, well, sure, honey. She said, I can't believe they pay you to sing. I just died laughing because
Meaning like it was good or it was bad?
No, that it was. I liked her honesty,
Sure.
and all it was to her.
No, it's a great job. It's
I'm
a
her
great gig, man.
granddad.
Yeah.
I'm her grandfather.
He's getting paid to sing, man. That's
Yeah,
the way
but
it
I'm
goes.
her grandfather. She don't look at me that way. You know what I mean? So she just said, I can't believe that they pay you to sing.
That could be your next song title. Getting paid to sing.
Oh, I got a good next song title, but I can't write it because, women. I write it'll make my wife mad.
So okay, so you brought that up. So all these years, your wife's been supportive of your music, and she's been cool with that. Like
I'm my third wife.
getting up and going.
But
leaving?
my current wife, we've been married 2.5 years, but we've known each other 20 years, and we've always had this look for each other. Never dated, never did anything, but I've been single a long time.
So your third wife, your current wife,
wife.
knows you're a rocker, and she fell in love with you because of that part. So you're good. So you're good now. So she understands that. That's who she married.
Let me go deeper than that. My wife, who is a fantastic woman, I love her more than anything in the world, is so passionate about my music. Is she thinks I'm a star, which is great. I mean, she puts me right up there.
Fantastic.
With
That's
everybody.
a true partner.
Yeah, I mean, and she loves my singing. She loves my writing, all that. But more than anything, her dad was a professional drummer his whole life in Philadelphia area, all New Jersey, all in that area up in there. I mean, he played, the band he was with played on the Ed Sullivan Show. I mean, he did casinos in Puerto Rico. He traveled everywhere. So she grew up with that. Hey, be quiet. Dad's sleeping, all that. And he supported his family playing music the whole time they were raised. So, she understood music in general. Her brother also was a musician. And so she's very supportive on that.
That's
part.
perfect, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And she thinks I'm the greatest thing in peanut butter, as far as being a musician. So she has a great appreciation for that, which is great, for me, So, and, there's different times in your life that you support different things, but she's been great. We have a great life together.
So 88 Keys, you're there every Thursday.
There every Thursday.
So how do people find out where Billy Rice is going to be? Is there a particular Facebook, a website? Is there any social media that we could talk about where people can find your future dates? Go tonight. Are you? How do they know?
Well, we used to do a lot of that, but there's so much stuff that we do is private that we just we'll post about being at 88 Live or the festivals or whatever like that. But we do a lot of country clubs, a lot of private things. I have guys that take me places and have me play for them and things like that. So, you weren't aware we played out of town and stuff like that either. Like we're going to play at the Lee County Convention Center for an event that they have down there. It's not like you have to push that, you know what I mean? Kind of like thing.
The work's there for you. Do you have a person like a touring guy or a manager or someone that's booking for you? Or are you the guy that's picking up the phone and doing the bookings?
Used to have a booking guy. I don't anymore because I don't want to travel as much as I used to anymore, but Sandy Kaplan, he did all my websites and stuff for years.
He does mine
I know
too.
he does. He told me that today. I talked to him today. He told me to tell you hi. Yeah. And I don't know if you ever saw any of our videos, but he shot some videos on us that are great. Yeah. I mean, and they did that. They did a fantastic job on that. There's no doubt about it. And we could push ourselves a lot more probably than we do, but I play what I want to play. And fortunately for me, like you said, I've always got great musicians, and if I really want to play, I can find. Are you
finding yourself having to turn down opportunities because either it's just not you can't fit it in, or perhaps maybe you don't want to do it or travel or.
Well, as you well know, I mean, I don't know how often you play.
We basically play every Friday and Saturday, and then a very rare weekend off during season. Now during summer, I mean, we're begging to get a gig.
Yeah.
But during season, we're in demand, and we like to be in demand.
Right. Well, I could play probably more than I play, but I don't want to, at this time in my life, I don't want to play every single Saturday night. My guys, that's all they do is play.
So they'll play without you. Are they in other projects?
Well, you know the jam they have at 88 Live?
Yeah.
The keyboard player plays that.
Okay.
He plays a piano thing with the bass player from Kettle of Fish.
Oh, Chris Curtin.
Yeah.
Great player.
They played piano bar together a night. So they play, 5-6 nights a week, every week,
So they're staying busy.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. Rich McDonald, my drummer, he plays with Paisley Craze sometimes, that fills in for them.
Great 60s band.
Yeah, he was playing with Al Fuller on a
Sure, I know
blues thing he does. And then all they have to do is put me first. That's all. I don't care what you do, but if we got a gig, we got a gig.
So you'll call them up and say, hey, we got this wonderful opportunity. Clear your schedules because we're going. See, here's the thing. I actually have backup musicians that over the years I've collected. So for an example, I have a fantastic drummer in Jared Johnson, but because he travels a lot, the minute he's gone, I have a guy that's just going to
have a guy.
Boom, and he's there and he's ready to go and he knows every song.
Well, see, that's the problem with playing originals, is that ain't going to happen. Playing originals because they don't know your originals. And we play enough of my originals where I think they're a part of the show. And so it's hard to get a guy to set in.
So what happens in that case? What happens when you got a guy on stage with you that perhaps maybe you haven't gone, will you attempt to do it? Or will you not even attempt to play? I mean, if you have a pro drummer and, a lot of times people can figure stuff out on the fly, but what's your policy on that? Like,
if I have the bass player and the drummer, you got your rhythm section, I can play the song. That's the main thing. I mean, you got to have those three things. So I would play the song. But if I didn't have my bass player, I would not play the song, because, it's like I tell people, look, the piano player can play this once in a while and the guitar player can give you a little riff like that. But that bass player and drummer can never quit playing, and that bass player can never play the wrong note. Because you can definitely tell, and you're a bass player, you understand what I'm saying.
And I occasionally do play a wrong note.
Well, everybody does, but you know what I'm saying. It's a lot easier for me to play a wrong note than it is for you to play a wrong note. I mean, you guys are the heartbeat of the band.
Right.
You really are. And, my wife, when I married her, she thought the guitar player was everything. I go, no. Bass player and the drummer.
I'm so nice to hear you say that, because we're in the back, and we're doing our thing, and the guys are up front getting all the glory, right? And sometimes my drummer and I, we make jokes about what's going up there,
Yeah.
Especially with some of my female singers that are, going off the wall. And it's like, we're bass and drums, we're rhythm, baby, we're thunder and lightning.
But that's the thing, is you guys have to concentrate. I mean, you can't be out there doing that. I mean, not that some people don't, they do. But the truth of the matter is you're the heartbeat
Billy,
of the band.
you know what I do? I turn and I stare at my drummer and I watch his snare. And I'm looking at him most of the show. I mean, yes, there are times I have to sing, so I have to go this way. But a lot of times it's him and I making eye contact, jamming. You know what I'm saying? And we love that.
Yeah. Well, what I do is and rightfully so, most bass players I've ever had in my life look at the drummer. But what I like is I like the bass player to have the drums in his monitor and the drummer to have the bass in his monitor. You guys got to be connected. And that's the most important two things in the whole band.
What's in your monitor? What do you like?
I love everything in my inner ear. I use inner ears, and I love everything in it. I love every single thing. I want to hear the whole thing, but I only use one. And because I want to hear the ambient noise I want to hear the people. When you put two inner ears in, sometimes you can't even hear the people.
I think your voice is the most important thing, though, because when I wear inners, it's all about being able to hear myself sing.
Absolutely.
Right?
I wear one, I can hear myself sing, but I have a sound guy every time. I don't play without my sound guy. I've even had clubs say, man, you're the only guy that has a sound guy, and you charge us for that sound guy. I said, look, tell me I'm a diva. I don't care what you say, but I'm up here entertaining people. I don't need to worry about there's a feedback problem over there.
Do you think because you're so experienced and you've been doing this for so many years, you're set in your ways? I mean, that this is the way it has to be. This is the right way to do it, right? And that's fine, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you've learned over the years, you've probably done shows. When I first started out, we didn't have inner ears. And there were times when we were panicking because our monitors failed on us, We've gone through all that shit. And I said to myself, I would always take less money and pay that sound guy because it's peace of mind for me knowing that front of the house is going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, first of all, once again, at this age, I ain't setting up gear. I'm very fortunate in the fact that I can do that.
Yeah, I'm still lugging shit.
The guy, it's not that I won't help once in a while,
it's backbreaking labor. Dude.
I come in, I bring my guitar in, the microphone's sitting there. My
God
guitar player.
bless, good for you, man. You deserve that.
Yeah, most of the time my guitar player tunes my
who's
guitar
lugging in the
player.
subs and all that shit?
Buck Powers, he's my sound guy.
You use Buck?
Yeah,
He's a good guy.
We use Buck always.
Buck's a great guy, yeah.
Yeah, even we go down to Lee County, we're going down there, they have a whole sound system. They have a sound. I still take Buck with me.
Okay, so then what would happen is Buck would then have power over them to say.
Well, he'll bring his iPad
and he'll
control
tap
everything.
into that. Okay.
Yeah, he'll just tap into their stuff and run the show because he knows.
Yeah, he's solid. He's a solid guy.
Well, he knows. He's played with me for so many years and everything that he just
Yeah, he was working with Chuck Reedy, who was on the show recently.
He works with Chuck Reedy. He does a lot of stuff with Chuck and them, but he does me always. He's even come and done even when I've done single before and just coming because I like it to be good.
But the exception is Bill's festivals with Ray.
Right.
She is so good. She makes us sound
excellent.
Like freaking The Who when we're on stage, man.
Well, the thing about Ray is she likes you, and she would probably do it if she didn't like you. But if she likes you, I think she spends a little more time. If you're nice to her and everything, and you appreciate her, she appreciates you.
But it's the little thing, like putting just a little effect on the voice, which nobody would think to do. Like when I sing lead on a couple songs, I like to have a little extra effect. And she knows exactly where to put it and how to put it, right?
Well, my guitar player, Victor, I told you he works for Sennheiser. He just took Ray a whole box full of microphones and gave them to her.
Nice.
So that was really nice of him to do that. We love Ray. She does a great job.
So how many festivals a year do you do? Because Bill's got like, 15, 16 of them?
Well, we used to do them all, and I had a back operation 2 years ago, and then I had to have another one last year because the one failed. So we kind of got out of the circuit. So we're probably doing half of them this time.
Well, he's got a lot more bands now. There's more bands than ever before. You know that?
Yeah,
you notice that?
Ridiculous.
They're coming out of the woodwork.
I know.
They're coming down from Tampa. They're coming up from Naples. There's more. I mean, and they're good. Like I love some of these bands. I get turned on, like Rock Candy, great example. These guys came on. They blew me away. We opened up for them, and I watched their entire set, just standing there in awe. How good? Because they were, all four of them were singing.
Yeah,
4-part harmonies.
Wow. Yeah, he has some great bands, and I love them all, and I think that's great that he does that. I mean, he has quite a bit of choices now, but I like the Black Honkies. I'd love to have a 10-piece band with horns and everything.
How cool would that be?
I would love that. How do you support that here?
Yeah, how do you pay those guys?
I don't know. I don't know how you support
it. Remember Reverend Barry and the Funk?
Oh, they played at my wedding.
Yeah, so you know him well. So he kind of like retired from the business, walked away. But a lot of bands came out of that. Right. A lot of talented musicians came out of that. But at one point
the girl that was singing, she did something. She went somewhere. She is.
Yeah, the Ya Diamond.
Yeah. No, Reverend Barry, he played at my wedding a little less than 3 years ago.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and he was right quitting. He was right when it was the end. I said, hey, man, you got to play my wedding.
So when somebody plays your wedding, does it like, come on, Billy, get up, do a couple, No.
I tell them, look, I'm not here to sing. I actually, when I got married, my wife one day, we're getting ready to get married. I go, what's wrong? And she said, you sing all the time and you won't sing in our wedding. So I ended up singing in the ceremony.
Okay.
And but I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what it was, and she wanted me to sing in the wedding.
Well,
so
that's who she married. She married a singer-songwriter.
And you know what? She appreciates that, and that's great that she does. Because that's not always the way it is.
So in our final thoughts here, what's some advice that you can give somebody starting out? Things that maybe if you had known when you were younger, would have made you either an easier path or perhaps a better musician?
Well, I think that the main thing you have to do is reach out. If you want to go somewhere, you're not going to make it in Bradenton, Florida or Sarasota, Florida. I mean, you've got to go do the roads, you got to try to get contacts if you're really serious about it. You know what I mean? You've got to go put yourself out there against people. It's like I told this one young musician one time, his parents, I told him, I said, look, were you going to send him to college? Well, we were going to. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll hook him up in Nashville with a producer I know, and you pay him what you were going to pay him to live at college, and he can make the rest himself, and he can go out and know how to learn to be somebody.
That's good advice, man.
Well, hey, man. I mean, you know what? You can be the greatest person in the world around here, and you go somewhere else, and you ain't nothing. You know, I mean, it's like Danny Toller and then one time they were playing with Greg Allman when the Allman Brothers broke up, and Greg and them were doing their thing trying to build the Greg Allman Band. They're traveling in a van, okay? So they're out in Texas, and they're going to play in Texas, and all of a sudden he said, "Holy crap, man!" All of a sudden we heard this guy ripping in there. We thought we were coming. We were the stars. They go in there to Stevie Ray Vaughan. You know, I mean, and you're putting yourself in a level that's up, and the only way you're going to get better is put yourself in that situation.
Is it possible, though, for someone to have a career in music these days with the way the landscape has changed and the industry's changed?
More people are making money, less people are making a real lot of money, because it's like this. I saw a guy, I don't know if you ever watch Rich Beato on YouTube or anything.
I do watch that guy.
Like he said one time, he says, 20 years ago, 141 bands had songs on the radio in a year. Last year, 3 bands had songs on the radio. They pick and choose who they want to be stars now, and that's who's a star. And that's a sad thing, I think. But Fish is the exact opposite of that. Fish has made, without a hit song, has made it happen. So
because they're a jam band.
Yeah, it can happen. Well, even Government Mule. They don't really have hit records.
I think, but that Grateful Dead audience kind of went and started going after Fish and looking for that next jam band where they can go tour with.
But it's hard to go. That's why I like that Mile Zero Festival. It's all those bands that are out there in Texas and everything, and they make their own stars out there. They have their own records. They have everything. I don't listen to commercial radio. I listen to a lot of satellite radio and stuff, and I like hearing things that nobody else really hears. Driving down the road, I probably listen to talk radio more than I listen to radio. So it is hard. It's like if you watch. There's another guy on YouTube called Bad Brad. You ever see him? He's a guitar player, and I knew some guys he played with in the past and stuff. And they start talking about how much money these guys make. Man, it's hard to make a living. You can probably make a living as a musician here as well as you can anywhere, if that's all you want to do. If you just want to be a musician making a living, stay here. If you want to be somebody, Lauren Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay, Lauren Mitchell. I give her all the credit in the world because, she had a goal, and her goal is she wanted to be the blues queen of the world. And you know what? She went out there and she put herself out there. She went and she competed in New Orleans and the blues festivals and put herself out there. That's courageous.
I think American Idol is a wonderful concept. I know it's gotten played out over the years, but when it first started, like Kelly Clarkson and those stuff, they truly went out and seeked people that, just needed a forum or an opportunity to get in front of people and perform, and they were discovered. Now, I know it's changed. Now it's all commercial, and they have to give a lot of the money back to the show, and there's all that negative stuff. But nonetheless, it was truly a talent search, and it was people in their living rooms were watching these singers, and they were having a chance to vote for them. I thought that was pretty exciting.
Well, the thing is, it's about a show, that, and somebody's got to be a winner to keep the show going. So somebody wins, but it is about a show. It's more than about the singer. I personally think. Now, is there a star once in a while? Yeah, because if there was never a star, it wouldn't work. But you got to know somebody. I mean, it's a who's who world. It is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I just think that
Chris Stapleton might be a great example.
Guys.
I mean,
what a great guy.
He was behind the scenes just writing songs, right? But no one even knew who the hell he was.
That's not really true.
But then he got famous.
Yeah, but he was in a bluegrass band. What was the name of that band? Forever. I can't remember now, but it was a big bluegrass band, and a lot of those people come out of even gospel bands and stuff, What I like about country is the guys can really sing. A lot of those guys.
And there's some really good guitar players too. Keith Urban's crazy guitar player.
Unbelievable. I opened up for him. I'll tell you what, I played with a lot of famous people in my life, and I really have. And I'm not just saying that. But my wife always, she goes, why don't you have pictures and stuff? I said, because honey, you don't, if you're trying to be on their level, you're not going to go try to get your picture with them. You know what I mean? But that guy, you know, I was backstage with him and everything else, and he was the most humble guy to me and everything else. And you talk about a guy blow you away. I mean, he is so professional. He knows exactly how to move his eyes on that jumbotron, exactly when he's supposed to. I mean, the guy is just on it.
Yeah.
You know, and player, unbelievable.
Hey, what are your thoughts on the Eagles? They're still going at it, man. They're still playing, sounding fantastic. I caught their last tour when they came to Tampa. I was blown away how great it sounded.
Well, there's icons in the world, and the Eagles changed the world. Billy Joel, prime example. You know, he's still out there playing. You know, Paul McCartney's still out there playing. I mean, you know,
Paul McCartney's crazy.
There's just certain people that, and the Eagles are definitely one of them. I mean, you're talking about way up here on the level of. Think about. I mean, me being a writer. Think about that. You know, it's every one of those guys wrote, every one of them sang, every one of them was great. I mean, how do you get that many talented people together without having a war?
Well,
you know,
I guess if you've seen their bio, their like documentary, they did fight. You know, Henley stayed tight with the other guy, right?
Yeah.
But they had the other guys were fighting, and there was some lawsuits and things of that
Yeah.
nature to this day. But nonetheless, they have so many radio hits. And like you said earlier, they're the icons. They're like the cream of the crop. At one point, they had the #1 selling record, you know, in the world for many, many, many years. Their greatest hits album.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you look at all the things that they wrote or all the things like Bob Dylan wrote, if you ever look at the discography of Bob Dylan, I mean, all along the Watchtower, I mean, to, you know, things that, you know, he was part of
My favorite song is "Tangled Up in Blue" by him.
yeah, but I mean, made it down south, Wagon Wheel. I mean, he was a part of a writer of
really?
Wagon Wheel.
No kidding.
Yeah, Bob Dylan.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't write the whole thing. There was another group wrote a lot of it too. But I mean, you just think about all those guys and what happened. It's all about the song. That's how the Eagles made it. I mean, you know, they had great songs. They wrote great songs.
And FM radio was there, ready to play them. Right.
Yeah.
The DJs back then could pick their own songs.
Yeah, you know,
People bought albums. Remember, people had to buy albums because they didn't have any other way to get the music. You had to buy the whole record.
Yeah, and as a writer, when I was writing, if you had the 4th song on an album, you made some money. Now you only hear the hit. You only hear the one because that's all that ever gets out there. You know what I mean? So it's so hard to make any money as a writer now, you know.
Some of my favorite records were like Bruce Springsteen's "Born to Run" because I felt like from the minute you put the needle down to the end, you flipped it over. It was a story. It took you on a journey as a listener, right? And every song kind of made sense and flowed with the next one.
Yeah, as a writer, I always, you know, it's so hard sometimes, right? Like a radio song's 3.5 to 4 minutes.
Right.
Okay, so in 3.5 to 4 minutes, you got to start the story, and it's harder than you think. And you got to tell the whole story, and they got to get it before the end, and then you end it with the end.
Like the early Beatles stuff is a great example.
Yeah, think about a guy writing a book. I mean, how do you write a book? I mean, you put all this garbage in it too at the same time, but it ends up telling that story.
Right.
And as a songwriter,
It's epic.
You have to take that story of that book and make it in 4 minutes.
Like Pete Townsend and The Who, when he did Tommy, I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hard to do, man.
Yeah.
It's just, but you know, for me, the song's everything, you know, for me. I mean, it's great. The music's great. It's great. You're a great guitar player and all that. But for me, it's just, I love the song and the meaning of the song and the words to the song and everything. And I'm very emotional about that part of the song.
Well, on that note, all of our viewers are now going to rush out to hear some of your original stuff, right? Because they've heard this podcast and they're going to be excited now to hear it. So I want to thank you for coming on the show, Billy. I look forward to seeing you at future shows. I know you're coming recently. You're going to be at the Seafood Festival coming up.
Yeah.
And there'll be a bunch of others.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you for having
Good to
me.
see you, man.
Yeah, you too.
Before we go, I want to give you something. I'm going to give you this jacked up T-shirt. I like to give my guests something as a little parting gift. So this is for you. I hope you enjoy that.
Well, I'll tell you what. If I'm playing during the daytime, I'll wear it.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I would love that.
How about that?
That'd be fantastic.
I'd
be honored.
I don't know what time I'm playing, but if it's just the daytime gig, you know,
Yeah.
I'll wear it.
Yeah.
How's about that?
Well, good deal.
All right.
We'll see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.